Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mundane Matt. And not a year goes by, and I mean this, not a fucking year, where a study doesn't come out from some regressive social justice warrior group that's trying to claim that playing video games makes you violent, sexist, misogynistic, ISIS. That's my favorite one right there, that you're prone to recruiting for ISIS. That's what was happening like almost 3 years ago now. People are trying to make those claims. It's ridiculous. It's insulting. Like, I have my Nintendo Switch controller right here. I played Zelda. I'm not a violent individual. In video games, sure, but that's in video games. I have no desire to do it in real life, but they don't care about that. They want to prove that video games, much like everything else, is bad for your health, and they want to use it as a way to control you. That's pretty much the only reason why these studies exist. Now, this new study, titled Video Games, Exposure, and Sexism, in a representative sample of adolescents. That's the fucking title. Might be its French translation. Yeah, it originated in France, out of the Grenoble Alpes University and also Lyon University, right? Now, this particular study sampled 13,250 kids between the ages of 11 and 19, asking them questions on a questionnaire. That's all it was a questionnaire. How many hours a week they play video games, how much TV or movies do they watch, how religious they are, so on and so forth. And just because the religious part of this actually comes into play, it's 27.4% Catholic and 25.9% Muslim. So it's very even in terms of the two major religions. And in France, the most predominant religion is Roman Catholic. Don't really know what that has to do with anything, but apparently that played into it because kids who played video games for an elongated period of time, boys over girls, were showing more sexist attitudes, and if they were religious, they were even more sexist. But ultimately, the study never really found any hard evidence, or showcased any hard evidence, to support the correlation between playing video games and sexism. It's really ridiculous in and of itself. It's a 26-page document that I will link to in the video description. I read through it, and it really doesn't tell you anything. And you can pretty much disregard all of it, its entire findings, when you look at the fact that, and I'm not even making this up, the only way that they asked about the sexism part, how they determined the sexism part, was a single line question. Simply asked, a woman is made mainly for making and raising children. And the children are asked to fully agree or fully disagree, somewhere in between. That's it. It was a single line item question. Are women made for raising children? And that's about it, right? And the answer given by young ones, ages 11 to 19, all right, out of this 13,250 person study, showcased that yes, sexism exists, even though they found no evidence to connect the two. And a single line item question is basically what's blanketing children as being sexist because they play video games. Never mind the fact that that's not even the fucking case at all. So I was curious about this a little bit. So I went looking up courting rituals in France, because I know, again, this is all in France, so this would just be a study relegated to France and the culture there. Not indicative of the culture around the world, but they're trying to make it that way. It's very misleading. So I went and looked up some of the culture rituals, or the cultural courting rituals for dating in France. And one of the things I read was that men, they're very much the aggressor in that situation. They're the approacher, they're the opener. Women, from what I was reading, they generally tend to look fit at an older age. They tend to look sexy. They kind of make themselves look attractive, and it's men's job to go up and initiate conversation. Now, that's not entirely different from here in the United States, but from what I read, that was pretty much indicative of how culture is there. And so if the man is meant to be the initiator of the conversation, then maybe that has something to do with how they view women, right? Maybe it's a cultural issue there. Not so much sexist as it's just cultural. I'm not saying the two don't kind of overlap maybe in some regards, like a Venn diagram, but to blanketly label everyone a sexist who answered that single line item question without much other context. Because also keep in mind, Roman Catholic and Muslim. Okay, so if you got about roughly 26%, 27% for both, then you're looking at like the idea there of that particular culture, that particular religion, and how they view women. And so, yeah, probably a lot of the Muslim students did look at at women thinking of their mom raising children, right? And maybe the Roman Catholic children felt the same way about women in their life because that's the culture that those religions tend to espouse. So again, this is a study that's more based around the idea of religion and how it pertains to its treatment of women more so than video games, which is why they couldn't find any direct correlation between the two. There's no hard evidence that existed. So these studies are just fucking hysterical to me because they're just a waste of time. How can you sit there and label young boys as being sexist from asking them one question? One question. No follow-up, no context, no other information. That one question. It is, and the fact that this made it into a published Frontiers of Psychology, it made it into a publication, astounds the ever-living shit out of me. Because it's horseshit. It's absolute horseshit. And the people who wrote it should feel bad, but they don't. Because they are very much coming at this from the left-leaning perspective, the left-leaning mentality that we see here in the United States, the feminist rhetoric here in the United States. Like one of the authors, Laurent Beguiu, of Grenoble Alpes University says, sexist representations saturate advertising, television, and cinema. Video games are no exception. Content analysis has shown that women are underrepresented in popular video games. They have passive roles, they are princesses who need to be saved, or secondary, sexualized objects of conquest. And that's very much an Anita Sarkeesian talking point, which makes me really wonder if this person very much was kind of pulling from that mindset. Because once again, this feels like something you would see from Anita Sarkeesian. That kind of very, very, very simplistic research and analysis, and then releasing it as a broad result, trying to claim that, oh, people are sexist because of one question asked. Not asking them what kind of games they play, just how many, maybe how many hours a week they play, those kind of things. And again, there's a lot more cultural discussions to be had than what this study even gave the children they questioned. So again, no hard evidence, as usual, as always, but they want to use it as a way to kind of blanket label gamers as sexist and misogynists and bigots and all of those things, because that's how they get their funding, and it's just ridiculous. And you know what? As much as I am not a fan of Donald Trump winning the presidency, I have to simply say this. I am glad he won because it really takes the wind out of a lot of these people's sails. Because they can't fall back on that nonsense much longer, because people are calling it out more and more and more, and they have been more and more and more since Trump won. At least it feels that way to me. So if that's the only good thing that comes out of his presidency, cool beans. But in the meantime, these studies are horseshit. Don't fucking listen to them. Don't fucking pay attention to them, because all they're aiming to do is demonize young men and boys who play video games. That's all they're trying to do. And they're doing it through a single line item question. How fucking just I don't know, how disingenuous is that? It's so fucking wrong. But what are your thoughts on this? These are things I want to know. Go ahead and write them down in the comments. My name is, of course, Mundane Matt. If you guys haven't already, thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, type in your stuff below. Looking forward to reading what you have to say. Check out the videos to the right. Got my vlog channel and my movie news channel, 3 Buck Theater. And I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day. Peace out.